How's it going, you guys? Yeah, come on, how's it going? The faithful few today. Gonna have to bring the energy in here, right, Casey? Yeah, I'm excited about this. I'm excited to not be preaching for the first time in a long time, but I'm also excited for Casey, and he's told me a little bit about this message, and I'm super excited about it, and I think it's a great fit for where we're at, so I cannot wait for that. I have very simple announcements this morning. The first is, some of you have been wondering, what are we doing with the Christmas season coming up, and how is what's going on going to affect how we do this? And I think we have a fantastic plan, actually. We are not this year going to try to do a Christmas Eve service on Christmas Eve because so many of you are spending time with people that I just don't think trying to pack this place out on Christmas Eve this year makes sense. So what we are going to do, though, is on Sunday, December 20th. Do we have that slide? Oh, we don't have this screen at all, do we? All right, hey, this is perfect for the season, isn't it? So on December 20th, rather than doing a regular Sunday morning church service, we're going to do an evening service outdoor, and it's just going to be an hour or less of carol singing. And you guys, if God cooperates and gives us rain-free weather, this is going to be beautiful. And the reason it's going to be beautiful is because this is something we can do. This is something, I think many of you guys are longing to do something with your children, with your family. The prayer vigil, I got to be honest with you guys, was beautiful and wonderful. It was not well attended. And I get it, because you're thinking about, what am I going to do with my kids for an hour and praying? I don't know about that. This is going to be a carol sing. It's going to be beautiful. We're talking about finding a safe way to do cider or hot chocolate or whatever. It's going to be musically beautiful, the lights, the candles, all of it outdoors. And if we get rain-free weather, it's going to be, I just think, number one, it's going to be a great way for us to come together as a church family with our entire families. Second of all, this is something you can invite people to. I think there's not a lot going on in this season, and this would be a beautiful thing to be able to invite neighbors or friends or family or coworkers to, and we can do this in a very safe way in the outdoors. Second of all, if you're somebody who goes, boy, I don't know that I could stand in the parking lot for an hour, you can bring a camp chair, and no one will judge you. Bring a camp chair and sit for as much or all of it if you would like to. It's just going to be a fabulous time. Here's the other thing. We're shooting for Sunday night, December 6th or December 20th at 6 p.m. If we don't get weather cooperating, we're going to be flexible like we are in this season. It's possible we could shift it to Saturday night. It's possible we could shift it to Monday night, looking at the forecast. And we would give lots of updates on our website and Facebook and Instagram and all of that. We will not be doing this in the rain. So please, God, give us clear weather for this. But I'm really excited about this opportunity for us to celebrate the birth of Jesus and the Christmas season, and to do it as an entire church family with our families. So that's what we're doing this year. There will not be a service on the 24th. We will be doing the 20th in the evening, but not in the morning. Okay, last thing is, this is such a weird time to be leading a church and to be pastoring. And I want to say thank you to all of you guys who have been sending texts or emails or going to your online communication card and just giving us feedback and saying, hey, thanks for what you're doing. We don't get to talk to you guys in person. And so those of you that have been doing that, please keep it up. We love it. It's super encouraging to hear what's hitting you and what you're finding to be inspiring for you in this season. And it's nice to just hear voices from people in our church. So please keep doing that. And if you have prayer requests or you have anything that you want us to know about, go to brickviewchurch.com, click on Contact Us, and then fill out your online communication card. Or if you have our emails or texts, just do that. We love you guys, and it's just really encouraging to be able to hear from you. So, all right, let me pray. God, I just thank you for this time together. I thank you for all of those that are online watching the live stream or will be watching a recorded version of this later. I thank you for those in this room. And God, in this season, more than ever, I have just felt this sense that we need to hear from you. And this is such an incredible opportunity to think about what really matters in our life and what we're building our lives upon. And so this morning, as Casey speaks, God, I pray that you would bless this time. I pray that you would anoint him and you would anoint his words. You would open our hearts and minds and speak into us the message that you have for each of us personally. Pray that you would help us to take these words of Casey's, these words of Scripture, and just hear your voice in them personally for us. We love you and we want to respond to you. So God, speak to us. We're listening. Amen.
Well, as Jason said, it's been quite a while since I've been up here. And that was thought out, methodical. During this crazy season, we've thought, let's have the boss kind of steering the ship during this season. But he's got to sneak me in, every once in a while. So last week, Jason, he kicked off a new series that we're jumping into called Resilient Faith. Resilient Faith. And I thought, what better book and chapter in the whole Bible to go to than Hebrews chapter 11, which is called, it's like the Hall of Faith. It's the heroes of the faith. Like just look at this lineup in Hebrews chapter 11. We have Abel, we have Noah and the ark. It talks about Abraham and Sarah and their descendants, Isaac and Jacob and Esau and Joseph. It talks about Moses leading the Israelites out of Egypt and splitting the Red Sea and the walls of Jericho falling down. Like that's all in Hebrews chapter 11. And to me, those are the goats, if you will. And if you don't know what that means the greatest of all time. Like Tom Brady is the GOAT. Michael Jordan's the GOAT. These are the goats of faith. Now, this is how Hebrews chapter 11 opens up. It says, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Faith, it's the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. For by it the people of old received their commendation. That is the goats. By faith, we understand that the universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible. Now, I'll establish something before I go any further. I have faith. I believe that there is another dimension that is more real than the dimension that our five senses take in. I believe that dimension made this dimension, so which dimension is more real? And we've been taught to believe in our culture, particularly our Western world, that what is real is whatever your five senses can take in. Like that's what's real. Now, I'd like to suggest that there's a whole other dimension, a whole other realm that is eternal. It's eternal and is far more real than this temporal created dimension. And so we have people here and people online, and some of you are considering. Some of you are still pursuing. Some of you are convinced that there is another realm, that there's a God who's so powerful that he spoke words like sea or ocean, and it was created. That's what we believe. That's how big and powerful we believe God is. Like we're talking about faith today. Now, I've been doing this for almost 12 years now, and this being Christianity. I got baptized when I was 18. I wrestled through some thoughts and some ideas for a few years before that. But at 18, I made the decision that this was real. And over time, I've noticed something about faith that I want to talk about this morning, and how we sometimes treat faith that I think limits our relationship with God. It limits our relationship with God. Now bear with me. This might seem random, but it's going to come full circle. This is my example for the morning. growing up in the Ellerslick household, my mom did a lot of grocery shopping. We had 4 boys growing fast. We're all playing sports. Like, food went fast, to say the least. My mom, she'd come home from grocery shopping. She'd go, boys, groceries. We all know that one of the primary reasons you have kids is so that they do things around the house you don't want to do. Some people are like, I don't want kids. You should rethink that. We're talking about emptying the dishwasher. We're talking about doing the laundry. We're talking about, once they can drive, running errands, taking the kids to practice that you don't have to do. I'm just saying, rethink it if that's... But she'd get home, she goes, boys, groceries. And I don't think this was ever taught to me. I don't think, it's just kind of how things were. When you get groceries, you get them all in one trip. I think it was in our nature. When it came to the Ellerslick household, it didn't matter if it was 2 bags or 32 bags. It's like, we're getting them all. Just like load me up. 4 arms full, each finger accounted for. Before my mom could even settle, it's like, they're in. And she's like, oh, good job. Like, the milk spilling, eggs were broken, no doubt, but we got them all in one trip. Because God forbid we have to go back out to the car. I don't have time for that. I think a lot of people treat faith the same way we treat the groceries. Now, when you hear the word faith, I can only imagine the emotions, the feelings, the definitions, the concepts, the analogies, maybe the old sermons you've heard, the old books you've read, things you've heard on faith. Like, if we could have like an open mic and everyone kind of give their idea of what they think faith is or their experience with faith, that would be, I think, a really interesting experience. When I say faith, I think we treat faith like getting the groceries, and here's what I mean. We think real people who have real faith treat it like they can carry it. They can just carry their faith all week long. Sorry, this thing is moving on my ear. I'm sorry, guys. Real believers, they can get all their faith in one trip. And they can go week by week, and they can go day by day and just carry their faith like we carry groceries into the kitchen. And I think when we think of the concept of faith, it's like, all right, here we go, one more week. I got faith. Oh, this is hard. This is difficult. Okay, I made it one more week. And I'm back at church, and I'm back at life group, and here starts another week, and what are you? I have faith. And maybe your 5 senses are like, oh, this doesn't make sense. I don't know. God seems a million miles away, but I just got to hold on anyway. So what is faith? Well, for those of us who've been in church for a long time, maybe we've heard sermons like this. Faith is your ability to hold on to God, as if it's like He's trying to get away from us. It's like, no, God, come back. Like, we're His shadow. He's trying to shake us, But whether knowingly or unknowingly, we treat faith like something that's our primary responsibility. And it becomes kind of like working out. And if you're like me, I don't like working out. I'd rather just eat salads for the rest of my life. Kaylin's like, hey, do you want to work out? I'm like, yeah, no. And I do it, and I'm like, yeah, I feel kind of good, I guess. And I think that's kind of how we approach faith. Hey, do you want to go to that church thing today? Yeah, no, okay. And you go, and it's like, all right, I feel better. That was good. I feel better. And we say, oh, we're starting a new series on faith. And what you hear is try harder, do more, read your Bible, wear your cross. You're not wearing your gold cross necklace, put it on. Say your prayers, stop cursing as much. Also, put in your online profile that you believe in God. Also, P.S., I'm a person of faith, And faith is easily and cheaply told to us as something that we can hold on to. And boy, if you don't hold on tight enough, it's going to slip right through your fingers. God, forgiveness, mercy, love, acceptance, belonging, you got to hold on real tight. And whether we're aware of this or not, I think a lot of us still function this way. And we come to gatherings like this and we say, oh, I hope Jason has a good one this morning. I hope the music is so good because I need some strength to be able to hold on this week. This morning, I'd like to blow your mind with the definition of the primary Greek word used for faith throughout the New Testament. It's the overwhelming Greek word for faith. So Hebrews chapter 11, it starts with, now faith is. The Greek word for faith is pistis, pistis. I think I'm saying it right. If I'm not, I'm sorry. Pistis. You know what that word faith means? It means to persuade. It means to convince. The root word is to convince or persuade. I want to say this about faith. Faith is not fragile. And faith is not predicated. Your trust in God is not predicated on your grip on Him, as if. And if I may, and I'm speaking from experience, I think we all need to kind of collectively take a step back and calm down on our view of ourselves and our power. As if we could go, God, where are you? Come here, I got you now. That's impossible. The Bible makes it abundantly clear we cannot find God. He has to reveal Himself. He reveals Himself. That word faith, the Greek word pistis, it means persuasion. Faith is divine persuasion, which is to say, God is the initiator of any faith that you have in your life. You didn't muster it up. You didn't concoct it. You didn't make it up. It wasn't you. It's called divine persuasion. God revealed Himself to you, and apart from that, we can't make it. We can't make it ourselves. Apart from that, there is no faith. God initiates it. Please hear me. Faith is a gift. Faith is only a gift. It's not something concocted in the spiritual elite. I cannot make faith up in my heart. It's not a matter of like mind over matter. It's not my own self-will. God in His grace and His goodness, He persuades me. He reveals Himself to us. That's why Jesus in John chapter 14, He says, nobody gets to the Father except through me. I will reveal myself to him or to her. And in Jude chapter 3, he said, this is what it says. It says, I contend. I want you to contend for the faith that was once delivered. For faith is the faith that was once delivered. Faith is delivered to you. It's delivered. Now, I mentioned at the beginning how I've been doing this for almost 12 years now, and why that's relevant is because I think the longer you do something, the more comfortable you get. Like the longer you're in a job or a position, the more comfortable you get at what you're doing. And over the years, I've noticed something about myself, and that is my faith hasn't been as strong as it has been at certain times during those 12 years. And I think the main reason why is I've taken the responsibility of my faith on me. Like, I've been doing this long enough. I went to Bible college. I'm on staff at a church now. Like, I should be good. I shouldn't have to have, like, my faith strengthened. I should be good enough. It's like carrying all those groceries. The burden of persuasion and convincing myself I have faith is on me. And I believe that can apply to those who have both been doing this for a while and also those who are still kind of in the considering or the persuading of if this is real. I need to convince myself, or I need to stay convinced. Faith is a gift. Faith is only a gift. The moment we stop letting God be God and take the responsibility of our faith on us, I'm telling you, you will be unsatisfied, you will be unfulfilled, you will be disappointed because you're not letting God be God. You're not letting Him do what only He can do. And here's the thing about God. He's been God for a long time. He's good at being God. Now Now, here's why this matters. Okay, that was my intro. That was me laying kind of the groundwork for where I want to go. Because as we go back to Hebrews 11, this is crazy. This is why it's called the Hall of Faith. Okay, it talks about those characters I mentioned earlier, kind of lays them out, their faith. And then this is how it closes out the chapter on the heroes of faith. Okay, picking up in verse 32. It says, "And what more shall I say? For time would fail me to tell of Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, and David, and Samuel and the prophets, who through faith conquered kingdoms, enforced justice, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the power of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, were made strong out of weakness, became mighty in war, put foreign armies to flight." It says, "Women received back their dead by resurrection." And here's where it gets crazy. "Some were tortured, refusing to accept release so that they might rise again to a better life. Others suffered mocking and flogging and even chains and imprisonment. They were stoned. They were sawn in two. They were killed with the sword. They went about in skins of sheep and goat, destitute, afflicted, mistreated, of whom the world was not worthy, wandering about in deserts and mountains and in dens and caves of the earth." Now you read that passage, and I'm willing to bet the feeling, the emotion you get from that probably isn't encouragement. You know, it's like sawn in two, destitute, flogged, afflicted, broken. I read about these people and I go, I don't know if I can relate. And not just because of what they went through or their experience, but by this level of resilience, by this level of faithfulness. Like, is that level of faith in me? Now, we've established that the Greek word used the most for faith at the New Testament is to be persuaded. We've established the fact that faith is to be persuaded. We've also established that you can't persuade yourself to believe. It only comes from the saving power of Jesus. Because if we were able to convince ourselves, then we would be saving ourselves. That's not how it works. Jesus does the persuading. He's the one who does the convincing. And if it's just a matter of principles and concepts and ideas, let me tell you, I'm not going to put my life on the line for an idea. Like, I'm not getting sawn in two over a concept. Like, these people list out lions and tigers and bears and saws and floggings and beatings. Like, whoa, what's that faith? Do I have that faith? See, that faith is an encounter with the living God who persuades you like only He can. Like, that's the kind of faith that like changes your appetites and changes the trajectory of your life. And like the questions you ask yourself aren't like, hey, what's the bare minimum to get through? No. The questions you ask yourself are like, whoa, how do I be more like Jesus? How do I do that? And I'm not saying that's like the desire we're always feeling. Like, we have bad days. Like that happens. But is your faith, is your persuasion coming from the true source? Are you allowing God to be God? Let me give you 3 ways God has persuaded us. This is the essence of His persuasion. Number 1, God has given us an event to persuade us. Number 2, God has come as a person, for He is a person, to persuade us. And number 3, He leads us. He guides us. He nudges us to persuade us. I mentioned earlier, in the last year or so, I've noticed something about my own faith and how it hasn't been as strong, or looking back at my life, I know it's been stronger at other times. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and I don't think I'm alone. Last week, Jason, he talked about how we live now in this like post-Christian world, where now we've gone from being the majority to now being in the minority, to where he said it's more like we're living in exile than in the promised land. And we're just, it's like we're strangers in a new land. And it's just that's the life that we're kind of experiencing now. And as a result of that, I think we have, I think something's happened, and I'd like to propose that we have traded those 3 things for 3 substitutes. for 3 substitutes. And I'm going to go through those. Instead of an event, okay, Christianity is an event. Please hear me. It's an event. It's not an idea. It's not an idea. We've taken what was an event. I am persuaded that an actual event happened on this planet. And it was so extraordinary, and it was so phenomenal, and it was so crazy. The earth shook, everything went dark, like the elements on earth responded to the fact that the Creator had given his life. And it was the entrance of a new world order coming in. It's an actual event. I'm not talking about an idea. I'm not just simply talking about like good advice. Plenty of people can give you good advice. My message is not good advice. My message is not a concept. I'm bound to the story. I'm bound to the event. I'm bound to the fact that God came to earth and he lived a perfect, sinless life for 33 and a half years. And he did the unthinkable. He reached the unreachable. He added value to those who didn't have value. It's an event. It happened. And then he wasn't taken and murdered. No, he gave up his life. He said, no one takes my life, I lay it down. And he hung on a cross. And he was buried. And for 3 days, followers like you and me freaked out and thought, no, it's over. What do we do? It's over. But on the 3rd day, hundreds of eyewitnesses, Jesus is walking through the city and walking through the streets, and he has piercings in his hands, and he has a scar on his side, and it's an event, guys. It was an event that happened. It's not just an idea. It's an event. Like the Bible, it's eyewitnesses. It's their account. They saw it happen. And so you have the event, it happened, then you have the witnessing, and then you have the spreading of the news. That's Christianity. It happened. A bunch of people are like, whoa, it's crazy. And then they say, hey, have you heard? Have you heard? Have you heard? Have you heard? Like that's what the book is. It's the passing down of news from real people, eyewitnesses. The disciples in Acts chapter 4, they said, we're going to tell everybody that we saw the resurrection. That's what we're going to do. And that's how it began. And sometimes I get too familiar with that news. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's an idea. No, it's an event. Another concept is it's not only an event, but it's also a person. True, relentless faith is a person. It's not a principle. It's a person. We gather around a singular person, not a collection of principles that make us feel better than other people. I'm preaching to myself. I don't know if you guys are feeling, I'm preaching to myself, truly. The essence of Christianity is not we're all here and we all follow the same morals. Like, there's nothing wrong with morals, but that's not the essence of Christianity. Jesus confused a lot of people with who he loved, and their morals were an absolute nightmare. It's a person, and we all receive from his fullness grace upon grace, John 1:16. Grace is not a concept. Grace is not a principle. Grace is a person. It's the fullness of who Jesus is, and we receive from Jesus grace upon grace without end. Here's why I think compromise comes easy for us. We make grace a principle and not a person, and it's a lot more easy to abuse a principle than a person. And so forgiveness becomes kind of like our unlimited credit card, where it's just like, I feel I'm good. And we forget that, no, this is actually a person here. And there's like we're abusing it. And there's truth to it, like, yes, we are forgiven, but we're just like, oh yeah, I'm good. And we don't actually consider, no, these aren't just principles, it's a person. It's a person. And here's the truth. Principles, they make us feel good about ourselves. That's what they do. Following Jesus makes it clear, oh, I need Jesus. Like, oh, we're following Jesus, and it's like, oh, I belong here. Oh, we're all just a train wreck? Okay, yeah, I fit in here. Yeah, that's what following Jesus does. Principles make us feel good about ourselves. And you remove principles from the person, And all of a sudden, we're just a bunch of peacocks running around town, unicorns, And by that, I mean just proud people walking around thinking they're special, thinking they're better, thinking that they're more righteous. Boy, you remove yourself from the perfect one, from God in the flesh, from righteousness personified, and we start comparing ourselves amongst ourselves, and what starts to happen is, oh, you do that. I gave that up in the 90s, so hey, keep at it, brother. You might get there. You might become as good as me. Keep at it, brother. That's what happens when we separate ourselves when we separate the person from the principle. Because now we're not comparing ourselves to Jesus. We're comparing ourselves to one another. And lastly, I'll end with this. Christianity is a leading. It's an event, it's a person, and it's a leading. And notice, each one of these things are very much alive. They're active. It's not a list. It's not just a list we follow. No, it's an event that changed the world. It's a person who in his fullness, his essence is goodness and grace. And it's a leading. It's a leading. He didn't just leave us there. There's an invitation. Jesus, throughout the entire New Testament, he always said one thing to people. He said, follow me. Follow me. Follow me. I love how the Message Bible in Matthew 4, they translate it like this. Come with me. Come with me. What's Christianity? It's when we go with Jesus. And the last substitute is, and I've been here. I've been here, and it actually took a lot to come back from because it leaves you feeling very empty and very alone. Without even knowing it, we've turned Christianity into a label. Not always, but sometimes we do this. And what's a label? A label is a look. A label is a subculture. And a label is a connection point. And I'll say this, there's elements of truth to Christianity in each one of those things, but if you get too comfortable in there, then the leading starts to slowly fade. And what we keep doing is we keep working on our look and how people see us and how we're perceived, and we kind of fit inside our subculture, like, oh, we'll just hang out over here, you guys keep doing your thing, and well, we got each other, and that becomes enough. And when that becomes enough, it's a very scary place to be, and I know because I've been there, because all of a sudden, all of that starts to become more important than the one person we're actually here gathering around. And Jesus is like, come with me. And it dawned on me, if we're not careful, faith becomes, hey, Jesus, come with me. And Jesus like, what's that? Like, it's the most like insulting thing. He's like, come again? Would you say, yeah, no. Come with me. Come on. And he's like, come on, man. and I think his response to that would be, Casey, I'm God. Okay, let's go. No. I run the world. Sweet, okay. No, you're not getting it. I have a plan for you, and that's an understatement. Oh, but I have a plan too. And I totally agree with your ideas, and I love your principles, and I totally rep your label. So, like, can't we just come on? Come with me is his invitation. Are we leading a life that responds to that? Or have we deduced this, whether intentionally or unintentionally, to an idea of principle or a label? Jesus, he shows up approximately at the age of 30, and every time he says, come with me. And you see these 12 guys rolling with him, and they're doing stuff, and things are happening, they're changing the world, and somehow I crave that. But somehow I've let sorry substitutes slip in, and no wonder compromise, it comes easy. It's an idea, it's a principle, it's a label. That doesn't transform me on the inside. Like, it gives me a connection point, and like, yeah, maybe it gives me a place where I feel good, but there's nothing wrong with that, but do I have a Messiah? Do I have a Messiah? Do you know Christian, like the term Christian wasn't used for approximately 13 years. We were called people of the way for 13 years. Hey, what do you do? I'm following the way. And we didn't title ourselves Christians. Observers titled us that, observers. Like, hey, you guys look like little Jesus people. Like you remind us of him. Little Christs running around. We didn't give ourselves that title. The title we gave ourselves was the way. Like, how active is that? Hey, what are you? I'm a person of the way. I don't know if we should go back. It's kind of creepy. But I think there's some accuracy there. There's some accuracy there. I'm part of the way. He's the way. I'm going his way. Hey, a newsflash. Your life isn't without problems. Yeah, no. Well, maybe you should stop following. Well, he's the only one who's been able to forgive me, ever give me true meaning and purpose in my life, ever give me true belonging. Like, hey, have you met him? Have you met him? Not, have you heard our sermons? Not, hey, have you heard our arguments? Like, I'm not against those things. I'm preaching right now. But true, if true faith is divine persuasion, I'm not that good. Jason's not that good. He's almost that good. But we're not that good. Have you met him? Have you met him? Because he's a person. Because if we're just lugging our faith around like it's the groceries, relying on ourselves and relying on others to persuade us, what starts to happen is you'll start to do your Christianity in the privacy of church, and in the privacy of life group, and in the privacy of your home, because I don't want to get cut in two over an idea. Like, I'll call myself a Christian, but I'm not dying over this. Like, we're in exile. It's ruthless out there. Have you seen it? I read Hebrews chapter 11, and I read about these heroes of the faith, and I go, do I know that kind of faith? Do I know that kind of faith? Have we been persuaded by the actual event? Have we been persuaded by the person? Have we been persuaded by the leading? Have you felt his nudge? Have you felt his wooing in moments of compromise, something deep in your soul called the voice of God, saying, this is not who you are. This is not what you want. You've been down this road before. You're going to wake up feeling empty tomorrow. I'm talking about a resurrection. I'm talking about a real king. I'm talking about he walks through walls. He has holes in his hands and a piercing in his side. I'm not giving my life for a label or a principle or ideas or good advice or sound wisdom or higher standards. I'm exhausted doing all those things. I've been burnt out doing all those things, and maybe you have too. No, I need God to persuade me again. I fooled myself into thinking I've done this long enough. I know the drill. I got this. I should be able to handle this. And I've been to the end of that rope, and it's probably worse than before I knew God, because at least then I had the excuse of not knowing him. Now, I need his faith to renew me, to persuade me again and again and again. It's an event. It's a person. And it's a leading. It's active. It's alive. And this has got me kind of rethinking one of my favorite portions of Scripture. And it's kind of putting it in a new light for me. And it's Psalm 23. And we looked at it last week. Psalm 23 is a good one. It's a good illustration. Because I think sometimes we think that I need to convince myself. I need to stay convinced. I need to be able to be good enough. I should be able to handle this. And faith just becomes a burden. It's not our burden to carry. It's God's. And so read this. This is crazy. Look at how active this is. This is what I think it means to be led by God. This is what it looks like. It says, "The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. Not he led me. No, right now. He is leading me. He is leading me. It's active. He restores my soul. Not he restored my soul one time and now I'm good. No. He restores it continually. Restores it. It's active. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. My cup overflows. Not he filled my cup one time and now I got to walk around like this. I'm holding my faith. I can't let this spill. Oh, I spilled a little. No. It's continually being filled. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. How active is that? Whether you're considering, maybe you're still pursuing, maybe you've been convinced, but are you doing that? Are you letting God be God? Or are you putting the onus of your faith and your belief on your shoulders? It's not just an idea. It's not just principles. It's not simply a label. It's an event that changed everything. It's a person who persuades us and convinces us like only he can. That's the definition of faith. It's divine persuasion. It's a leading. It's a leading. I love that. Without that, it's principles, it's ideas, and it's a label. He says, follow me. Come with me. And I have faith that he can use moments like this. I can't persuade you. I can't convince you, but he can use a moment like this and just knock on your heart. But God's a gentleman. Here's the thing. We can ignore it. And kind of like what I was saying this last year, like I think a part of me was like, no, I'm good. I got this. And he's like, okay. Okay. And then eventually you just, oh man, you turn around and he's like, yeah, you ready, idiot? Let's go. Like, you done doing that? And yep, guilty. But he leads us. Are you willing to be led? Or do you just want to keep hauling around your faith like it's a burden? Because it'll weigh you down, let me tell you. Jesus, he says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Just follow me. Just come on. Yeah, but it's crazy out there. Have you seen out there? It's crazy. It says he prepares a table for us in the presence of our enemies. How cool is that? And I'll invite the band. You guys can come up and join me. Yeah, Jason, you said, hey, we're doing a series on faith. And I was like, oh, dang, I think I have to talk about this. I think I have to be real on the fact that, like, you can be saved, but you can continue to just choose to think you got it. And I'll tell you what, it will leave you feeling almost as lost as before you were found. But yet you know it's there because once it happens, I have no words to explain what happens when Jesus is there and real, but like, man, it's just like carrying the groceries all in one trip when it's on you. And he says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. It's an event, it's a person, and it's a leading. That's faith. Jesus is faith. Without him, there's no faith. We don't just have faith. We can't muster up faith. No, he is what faith is. Just like he is what grace is. There's no grace without him. And so I don't know where your heart might be this morning, and if you can maybe relate to this idea of just kind of hauling around your faith, and it's been like a burden, and you're just trying to like, oh, I have it. I have faith. And maybe it's just time to take a moment. And maybe there's that knock on your heart this morning, and maybe I just explore opening that door. Explore what that might be. And as these guys lead us into worship, worship is such a beautiful thing. I think God speaks through worship. I think the Holy Spirit moves through the act of worship. And as they lead us, I would just slow your mind, take a deep breath, and just let God minister to you in this moment.